In this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know about split shipments in 2024 as a bookseller. I'm going to go over what I think personally is the best flow. What's going to save you the most money? Is it better to do minimal splits? Is it better to do Amazon optimized splits, partial splits? We're going to cover all that. I've actually done some pretty in-depth testing myself. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just what I've done and my results. And then I'll give my 2 cents on what I think is the best way to approach split shipments, including workflows and what option you should select. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and start within Seller Central. You can click on this gear icon in the top right corner, then click on Fulfillment by Amazon. From here, you'll scroll down to your inbound shipment settings right here. So your inbound settings, where you can click on Edit. Once you click on Edit, you're going to have three different options to choose from. You have Amazon Optimized Splits, which is basically Amazon says, hey, we're going to send your items where we want. Now, what I found from my results, my test, is this results in the most split shipments, but there are absolutely no placement fees. The next option is partial shipment splits. You will pay a placement fee for this, and you will still get split shipments. The last option is minimal shipment splits. This often, I've not done one shipment where this results in multiple locations. So for me, this has always resulted in 0 splits, meaning that all my items go to one location, but it does have the heftiest inventory fee. And the inventory placement fee is oftentimes double what the partial shipment splits fee is. So you're looking at upwards of anywhere from 30 to 70 cents in fees with the minimal shipment splits. And you're looking about half that, 15 to 35 cents for partial shipment splits. I'm going to go over results. I've done tests on both the East Coast and the West Coast. So I'll share my results there. And then, I'll give my 2 cents on all the different options. So real quick, before we dive into the results, I do want to show you how crazy Amazon is. So we're here in Go-To Lister right now, and we have a 150 item shipment. I'm going to click on Send Batch, and what you guys will see is the different split shipment destinations. So here are the split shipments based on, currently in my settings, I have Amazon optimized splits on 4 different locations. And look, 13 items is not going to fill up a whole box. We're going to pay extra in inbound shipping. And notice these locations we have spread all over. We're going to pay a lot in inbound shipping fees here. Now, this is what's so crazy about Amazon. Let's watch this one more time. I'm going to click cancel. Now I'm going to click send batch again. Look at this. This is how crazy Amazon is. We are now left with 3 splits instead of previously we had 4 splits. I guarantee you can do this minute by minute and you'll get different split shipment options. So keep that in mind. That's a tool to have in your arsenal. You can literally just keep previewing different shipments from Go-To Lister or whatever listing software you're using with Amazon optimized splits and Amazon partial splits, and the shipments will change. So if you don't like the splits you're getting, simply go back, preview shipments again, and move on. Now, if you're watching this video and you previously liked using the one box method, which is where you would fill up, your batch of items with 1 box worth of books, then cross your fingers that they all go to one location. If you're super into that flow and you don't care what the fees are, you just want to pay the extra fees, go ahead and click on minimal shipment splits and be sure it's worth doing some tests. See which one of these is the cheapest for you. Now, it may seem pretty obvious, like East Coast, if you live in Philly, East Coast is going to be the cheapest. But I live here in Tennessee, which is the East Coast. It's actually cheaper for me to do central shipping and ship to the Midwest than it is to do East Coast shipping. And then if you're on the West Coast, select West Coast here. And the same goes for partial shipment split. So this is the first time Amazon has actually told us we get to choose which warehouses the items go to. Now, this is really interesting. Why would they give us the option? Because obviously when we're creating the batch, we're telling them which address we're shipping from, but now they're giving us the option which warehouse we're shipping our items to. Amazon may be catching on to the fact that we know items sell faster on the East Coast, or at least I've noticed this within my business. I have prep centers on the West Coast and East Coast. I noticed that my items on the East Coast tend to sell a lot faster. Within the Amazon community, we always use the term buy box, but what does that really mean? Buy box means it's showing, the buy box offer. They're displaying your offer to the customer. But which customer are we talking about? Are we talking about the West Coast customer, the East Coast customer, someone in the middle of Iowa? You have to realize that Amazon is certainly going to show a different buy box to somebody purchasing your items on the West Coast than the East Coast. And so maybe this is Amazon's way of saying, hey, look, we're tired of you gaming the system by changing your address within your settings. And instead, we're just going to give you the option to pay more in inbound shipping if you want to ship your items to the East Coast. This is getting a little bit, into the weeds with my opinion on these new splits, but it is something to take into consideration, especially if you're doing something like wholesale, which this video is for booksellers. And I don't think you should pay extra inbound shipping just to get your items on the East Coast, but it is an interesting thing they're now giving us the option to do. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the results I did. So basically, I did a test where I created a West Coast shipment with 100 items and 150 items. So I did a smaller shipment and a larger shipment, and I did the same thing for the East Coast, and here are the results. I used the 3 different options that Amazon gave us. So Amazon optimized splits, again, the most splits, and then partial splits, which is usually 2 to 3 splits, and then minimal splits, and here are the results. So for the Amazon optimized splits, I paid a total of $75 in inbound shipping fees. I paid more in inbound shipping fees with the Amazon optimized splits from the West Coast because they were sending my items into very far locations. So even though all 3 of these shipments have 100 items in them, I paid $75 in inbound shipping fees for Amazon optimized splits, whereas with the partial splits, I only paid $35 because the locations were closer to me. And with the minimal splits, I only paid $28. So minimal splits had the lowest inbound shipping. Amazon optimized splits had the most inbound shipping because we had to deal with like 6 split shipments. Now I paid $0 in placement fees, whereas with partial splits, I paid $24 in placement fees. Those are just extra fees that Amazon tax on for using partial splits. And I paid a $29 placement fee for all my items to go to one location. Now, if we look at the totals of these different numbers, I paid $59 in total fees, so including inbound shipping fees and placement fees for partial splits, which is 21.83% less than the Amazon optimized shipping. And then down here for minimal splits, it was about the same total cost as Amazon optimized splits, which is super, super interesting. So you can either, list 100 books and have them all go to one location, or you can have them go to 6 locations and you end up paying about the same because inbound shipping fee is so ridiculously expensive if you ship your items to 6 different places. So in this case, you'd actually save 20% by doing partial splits, which, over the course of a year, this could be thousands of dollars saved. And, there is an argument to be made that split shipments aren't the end of the world or split shipments have a purpose rather. Amazon wants to send your inventory to warehouses that need stock. And like I was saying earlier, perhaps if you send your items to where they need stock in different warehouses, then your items will buy box faster, they'll sell faster. And this is all speculation, but I believe that it's true. So these are the results for the West Coast smaller shipment. For the larger shipment, I'll just quickly go over the numbers. It's 20% less to do the partial splits again. And then it's about the same for minimal splits, about 6% more if you're going to pay the Amazon fee for the larger shipment. So very similar results for the larger shipment. So for the East Coast shipment results, it was not as skewed towards partial splits. While partial splits are still, not crazy expensive, minimal splits for just an extra $4, we can get all of our items to one location. So for a smaller shipment, it's probably worth paying the $4. But again, that's still 15% extra in fees. So if you're really trying to save money on fees, it would still be better to either go with partial splits or Amazon optimized splits. And with partial splits, it seems like you can get 2 split shipments if you just keep resubmitting. But Amazon optimized splits, it seems like the best you'll ever get is 3 split shipments. So if you get like 6 split shipments to Amazon optimized splits, I would just recommend resubmitting it again until you get down to 3 because it changes minute by minute. With the larger shipment from the East Coast, partial splits was our cheapest option. And again, Amazon optimized splits was $68, partial splits was $67. So pretty even there. But remember, partial splits are a lot less work because it's fewer split shipments. So you're actually paying 26% more for paying for inventory placement for the minimal splits with the larger shipment. So partial splits across the country from East Coast to West Coast for larger shipments, it really does seem like partial splits for booksellers is going to be the cheapest option. So my conclusion of these results is test it yourself. If you're going to do this and you live in Kentucky or Tennessee or wherever, but if you're not obviously on the East Coast or West Coast, try the central option within Seller Central on partial splits or minimal splits and see if it results in cheaper inbound shipping for you. So I definitely recommend playing around with these settings yourself. They're super, super easy to toggle and just see what works best for you. These are just my numbers, from my test, but it may be different for you. So the summary of fees from my data is we're paying between 30 and 70 cents for the minimal placement fee. I know that's a really broad range. So that's to pay for 0 splits essentially. For the partial split shipment, it looks like we're paying about half of the minimal split shipment fee. So about 15 cents to 30 cents. Now for the inbound shipping fee, it changed based on Amazon optimized splits, partial splits, and minimal splits because Amazon would send our inventory to far away locations with Amazon optimized splits. So it's almost like they're playing a game with us. And they're like, hey, we're going to split your shipment 6 different ways to the furthest locations possible to then encourage us to either pay for partial splits or minimal splits. It literally seems like they're trying to pigeonhole us in and just capitalize on the fees, essentially, is what it feels like. But who knows? Maybe they're actually doing this because they truly do want the inventory shipped all the way across the country. Who knows? But we're paying a lot more in inbound shipping, like 58 cents to 68 cents, which is outrageous for books. You should be paying closer to 25 cents to 30 cents per pound, which you do see with the partial splits and minimal splits. We do get decent inbound shipping. And again, this is just based off my testing data. Test it with your own address and your own location. So in my opinion, the best way to deal with split shipments as a bookseller is probably to go with the partial split option. Again, mess around with the Amazon optimized splits and see how that does for you. But it seems like they're shipping to far away locations, resulting in higher fees. So from this data and from what I've seen, it's probably your best bet to keep that partial split option with whatever part of the country you're located in. So maybe Central, maybe it's West Coast, maybe it's East Coast. Then what I recommend is listing, books throughout the week and continuing to preview shipments. If you ever get like 2 splits, maybe you list 70 items and you get 2 splits, that's pretty manageable. I would go ahead and accept that, send the shipment, and then start rebuilding your shipment again. But if you keep getting a bunch of one-off splits and you're having Amazon's forcing you to send, 10 items to one location, just make the batch bigger, and get up to like 150 to 200 items in that batch. Over the course, maybe it takes you a week or 2 to build up that much inventory. Maybe it takes you a month, but then you'll be saving 20-25% because once you do get splits, again, continue to hit that preview or submit the batch, preview those split shipments. Once you get split shipments that you actually feel comfortable dealing with, you can click on accept. So that seems like the easiest way, or perhaps not the easiest way, but the most frugal way to deal with splits. And at scale, if you're running if you're pretty serious about this and you're doing a few thousand in sales each month, you should probably incorporate that in your system. If it's too much work for you to deal with split shipments and you don't really want to learn how to deal with the box content side of things, then perhaps it's worth it to pay the minimal shipping fee, which is going to be upwards 60-70 cents, depending on where you live. But I do recommend that you consider having a box content flow because our goal at this phase is to get the shipments as big as possible. Ideally, we want to be filling up several boxes this size. We don't want there to be any split that's less than a 30-pound box. If there's a split less than a 30-pound box, you're going to be paying higher shipping fees. So try to keep your shipments as big as possible when you're doing the split shipment flow. So we're going to go ahead and accept these shipments. And this is going to take us to the next page, which will show us all the warehouse destinations and also how many boxes go to each warehouse. So let's just say you have one split that's really, really big. like maybe Amazon decides to send 100 items to Memphis. That's probably going to take 3 boxes. So as you're scanning the items in the box, which I'll show you in just a second, you always have the option to add a box here. So you can click on add box and it will add box number 2. But since we're just starting, we're going to keep all these as they are. And so you can see we have 3 different warehouse destinations here. We got GYR3, GYR2, and SCK4. So what I recommend you do is label each box. So we're going to take each box and I'll put SCK4 here. And then we're going to put GYR2 here. And we will put GYR3 here. Now, keep in mind, for the purpose of this video, I'm just showing you different boxes. These boxes are really small. Again, I recommend trying to get your split shipments to the size where all your boxes are about this big. But occasionally you are going to have to send a box of 2 or 3 books, or maybe 1 book. And that's why it's important when you buy stuff on Amazon, just keep the box so you can use it for this flow. Okay. So now what we're going to do, we've already labeled the books in the previous step. We've already created the batch. We've already labeled them. So they're good to go. So what you can do now is just take that F and SKU label, select the scan box here, and scan in. You're going to scan the F SKU into the box. And as you can see, it's going to tell us which box to put it in. So it's going to go in GYR2, box number 1. So GYR2 is right here, box number 1. We're good to go. So then we can scan another book. And as you can see here, this one's going in SCK4, which is this box here. And so I'm just going to keep repeating this process where I scan the book. It tells me which box it's going into until all the boxes are filled. If I need to, as I mentioned, if you have a really big split, after you scan all the items into one box, if you need to add a second box, all you have to do is click on add box here. And then as you scan the items again, it will be adding them into box 2. So if you have one split that takes multiple boxes, simply click on add box and it'll do that for you. If you have, for example, 2 books that you quickly want to add to one box, you can just click on add all to box 1 and it's going to put those books in that box very quickly. At any point in time, you can click on view shipment so you can see which items have been scanned in, which ones have not yet been scanned in. And you can also edit the shipment. So this is something new. If you want, for whatever reason, if you want to pull out an item, Amazon will let you toggle this up to 5%. So if you have 100 books, they'll let you do 6 units in that case, because 5% of 100 is 5. If you have 200 items, they'll let you edit out. They'll let you remove 10. Anything less than 100, they're going to allow you to edit 6, which is pretty nice actually. So at any point in time, you can quickly edit your shipments there. Okay, after you've scanned all your items into their boxes and make sure everything's correct, you've edited the quantities if you needed to, what we're going to do is click on send box content here. This is going to take a minute and enter the dimensions. So let's just say this was 2 pounds. I don't want to charge my Amazon account a lot, so I'm just going to, for the purpose of this video, put super light weights. So we'll just put 2 pounds, 1 pound, 1 pound. And then for the box length, just enter whatever dimensions. I usually just enter 12 by 16 by 12. That's around the size of my boxes. But if they're different and you want to follow the rules, you can. Just make some numbers up. It's going to take a minute here for Amazon to receive all the information you just sent. So just be patient. And as you can see now, Amazon has received the information. So we're just going to click on submit down here. This is going to send the box content information, and then we're going to have the option to buy shipping. Okay, so at this stage, you're going to be able to see each warehouse destination, how many boxes are included at each warehouse. And all you're going to do is make sure your roller printer is connected. Select thermal printer 4x6. Click on accept charges here. And This is going to print the labels for you, and you'll be able to complete your shipment 100%, would then go to a lister, put the labels on the box, and ship them out to Amazon. If you guys want to see a video of me labeling the box, I'll link that below. But that's how you deal with split shipments. Hopefully you guys have fun sending your shipments to Amazon and it's not super stressful. And much love. See you in the next video.